Alrighty. See what we got today. Plunder. This is with Plunder Kingdoms. This one has a bunch of treasure in it. The landscapes are Tireless and Journey. Let me check what card is Tireless. Trickster. Okay. So for draw, there's Longship and Figurine and Swamp Shacks. I think there will be some interesting interactions with Journey there. For villages, Longship. Gondola on game can play stuff. Plus buy, figurine, abundance, and sack of loot itself, as well as most of the loot that it gains, all give plus buy. And then lastly, trashing is non-existent, so the curses from Trickster could hurt. So in terms of draw, I think so. One option would just be playing with like only treasures. Like you could play with just figurines here, plus some of the other stuff. That's not a lot of draw though. It's just like one stack of laboratories. I think Swamp Shacks looks pretty good. The big problem usually with Swamp Shacks is you first have to have a bunch of actions and draw and stuff to get a bunch of action cards in play. Then you play Swamp Shacks, and they can be drawing you 3, 4, or 5 cards later on in the game. But how do you get to that stage in the first place in a kingdom where you're otherwise reliant on Swamp Shacks for draw? I think the answer here could be by Journey. You have a bunch of cards in play from your first turn. Then you start the Journey turn, and you've already got 5 or 6 cards in play, and your Swamp Shacks are drawing you a bunch of cards from a very early point. That looks strong. So I think probably goals are play Trickster a bunch, get a bunch of Swamp Shacks, have a bunch of treasures. Probably want at least a pair of gondolas, maybe 2 pair. I gotta think about this. How does gondola interact with Journey? I think the answer is awkwardly. So I said gondola, I meant grotto. How does grotto interact with Journey? The trouble is, I think grotto is a strong card. And almost always the correct way to play with it is you have a pair of grottos, you set aside 4 cards every turn, which gives you a 9-card starting hand, which sets you up nicely for the next turn. Then you draw your deck, and then you set aside 4 cards again, and you just do that on loop. It makes you way less likely to done. The trouble is, if the plan is, have a maybe lackluster main turn, where you find a bit of stuff, spend 4 money, buy Journey, then you go to the Journey turn and draw your deck with Swamp Jacks. You could set up the Grotto on the Journey turn. You have a big hand the following turn. Then if you don't find a Grotto on the main turn, you're not getting it set up again. I think Grotto's probably still going to be worth it. We'll see. How to open. Hmm. Silver Flagship could be an answer. And then you hit Trickster, and then Flagship will already be in play, and then you double play it, and you give it a bunch of curses. I think I like that. Grotto Flagship would work out nicely if you find like Grotto first, then Flagship. It will work out poorly probably if you find Flagship first, because then the Flagship is going to trigger on the Grotto play whether you want it to or not. I'm going to go with Silver Flagship, I think. But does go Grotto Flagship, which I think has higher highs. It's a bit more awkward. I think I'm going to take Trickster as my first 5. I think Trickster, give out a bunch of curses, set aside 2 treasures. You're probably going to get back to 6 anyway, and then you can add a sack of loot. And then once you've got a sack of loot in the deck, adding you a consistent stream of payload, it'll be easy to add just like Swamp Shacks from there on out and start drawing with those. Don't love seeing 3 money here. 4 would be nice because then I could buy Journey. I think I'm going to buy a Grotto. Although if I draw it before I draw the Trickster, I might just end up not playing it. This guy. I think I just don't play it. Oh no, and the Trickster. This is These draws have been less than ideal. The Trickster is bottom decked. I'll buy Journey here so I get it in play at least. Get a bunch of curses. Buy one more flagship. Set aside a bunch of stuff. Trickster goes back on top. Okay. Set aside 1, 2, 3, 4. And buys. Well, it's doing fairly similar stuff. It's got grottos, it's got flagship, it's got a trickster, it just added sack of loot. Looks like it's doing it slightly faster than I'm able to. I think that's just because my early draws weren't cooperating very much. Here the play could be play flagship by gondola, and then use the gondola to play the trickster, and then the flagship will trigger on the trickster. Be the best play. Do 1, 2, 3, 4. Play flagship. Do this. Give it a bunch of curses. Set aside the coppers. Order of the treasures in hand versus top deck trickster doesn't actually matter here. Unfortunately, poor Grotto has bottom decked. Think I just go ahead and take the sack of loot here? There's certainly a good case to be made for Journey. Maybe that's better. The upside of Journey is pretty dang big. I'm going to leave the silver not in play. It's not a bad card, and I don't want it to get stuck in play with Journey. I could potentially see it next turn. Three is not an amazing number. Oh, never mind, this is not 3, this is 5. Or 4. It's fine. Go ahead and buy my first Swamp Shacks, probably. I still don't have Sack of Loot yet. Hmm. I'm struggling a little bit with the hit 6 on this turn, but buying Journey just always looks better. And then I'm probably not hitting 6 on the next turn. So how do I get the Sack of Loot in my deck productively? I continue to think it is just more important to buy Journey here. Setting aside 4 cards for the following turn means I find the Trickster again, everything nice happens again. Maybe I should have bought an Abundance over the Swamp Shacks, because then I would have... No, that wouldn't work. I was gonna say, then I'd have plus buy to buy Sack of Loot plus Journey, but it's only plus buy if I buy an action card, which I wouldn't. At some point in this game, I will get a Sack of Loot. I have quite drastically, it looks like, won the curse split. Is it, I think, 8-2? Oh, goodness. How did the bot manage to lose the curses that badly? He got the Trickster fairly early. It had a flagship. It should have had the capacity to give out more curses. Maybe the answer is the bot just wasn't clicking Journey enough, but I mean, like, it bought Journey last turn. Okay. Still think Journey looks better. Actually, let me just put all... No. How do I do this most effectively? One. I think this is fine. Someday I'm going to acquire a sack of loot. Today is not that day. I'm just gonna buy one more grotto. Find the grottos more consistently. Plus, having extra grottos in play isn't so bad with swamp shacks around. Okay, let's draw some cards. Set aside a bunch. One, two, three. Maybe just set aside the trickster. No, I think I would rather double play the trickster. I'll set aside 3 instead of 4. But if I do it in this order, I can also set aside 2 more treasures from the trickster, which seems better than just setting aside 1 more treasure with the grotto. And this turn, I at least got the grotto in play. One of the big advantages of Journey on those earlier turns was didn't have a grotto down. Take an extra turn, set the grotto up. Looked enough. Here, I've already got that going on. Never mind. Apparently the grotto was better. I didn't even notice the bot. First loot was sword. I don't like sword. So the downside of Trickster is it puts the card into your hand at the end of turn, which means you can get hit by your opponent's discard attacks, whereas Grotto sets it aside and draws you cards at the start of turn, which gets around this. That was annoying. Okay, let's do all of this. The cards. The card I'm looking for. I won more swamp shacks. Always gotta watch out for piles with the bot. Curses are empty, Grotto is low. Look out for suspicious, bot buys a bunch of estates or duchies and tries to rush down a pile. Would not be a surprising play. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I do the flagship trickster gondola thing again. It's probably better than Journey. By Journey, I get a whole extra turn. But the Sack of Loot, probably the main card that matters, is in play, and I'll trigger a shuffle that won't have that in it. So I think I'd rather just do the gondola, play the trickster, and that lets me set aside the Sack of Loot for the following turn. Please stop playing that. If Sword just said discard 1 card, it would not be nearly as bad. Staff plus Swamp Shacks is going to be great here because I can play all my treasures, then play Staff, then play a Swamp Shacks, and it'll draw a bunch of cards because the treasures will be in play. I guess I might as well play one of them. Doesn't draw me any cards, but it gets 1 more card into play. Puzzle box would be a great loot if the bot didn't have a sword. Having an extra card in your hand is kind of pointless if you're going to get discarded anyway. Go, I guess now. Draw a bunch of cards. Journey. Another Swamp Shacks. And another Grotto. Just another sack of loot. Maybe a second sack of loot is better. Longship actually wouldn't be bad. I don't think it's the primary source of draw, but it is a duration card that stays in play, which plays nicely with the Swamp Shacks, and it is some amount of draw. Everything looks okay-ish. I'm gonna go with Longship and another Grotto. Set aside 4. I'm not sure if that's better than getting the flagship into play. Okay. Yeah, the playing the flagship isn't going to end up doing very much because I'm going to have to play Grotto first here. I could double play the Trickster, but that's just worse. Set aside 4. Second play of Grotto does nothing. Journey. I've got currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards in play. If I played both of these Grottos, the Swamp Shacks would draw one more, but I don't think that's worth it. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I'm going to play this one just to get it into play. Play that. Delay that till next turn. Staff, puzzle box, 2 more Swamp Shacks. The other sword, of course. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the Swamp Shacks draw 2. One, two, three. I'll set aside the silver. That's fine. All else equal, I would rather play the Gondola for a next turn effect than this turn effect, because Gondola in play at start of turn also buffs the Swamp Shack's draw. 8 looks a lot better than 6 here, because it's enough for Journey plus 1 more Swamp Shacks. Gotta watch out for this pile, but I do have a points lead because of the curses. Okay, drop a bunch of cards. Okay, yeah, here we go, here we go. This is what my deck's supposed to look like. It took a bit to get there. Flagship. Set aside Swamp Shacks. 1 buy away from winning on the Swamp Shacks pile. Buy a province just in case. And maybe Swamp Shacks flagship. Stop doing that, please. Okay, and there ought to be a win this turn. Play 1 Swamp Shacks. Get a Grotto into play. A flagship, and now the Swamp Shacks will drop 2. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards in play, so let's play 1 more Grotto. Set aside the province. The flagship. Now they draw 3. I should be drawing my deck here. Probably should have played the Trickster earlier. Uh, Perhaps there's a better order here that involved me drawing uh, with 1 Swamp Shacks. Probably there wasn't. It would be nice if I managed to have a Swamp Shacks left in hand, because then I could gain a loot, use staff to draw the loot, and then also play it. Here I can play it with Orb. That'll cost me 3 money. I get it back. One, two, three, 4, and 2 provinces. Okay. Yeah, that one took ages to get going, which maybe suggests a mistake, but I think probably that just is roughly how the Kingdom want to play. The prioritizing just buying Journey every turn, even if it was mostly spinning wheels, did lead to me winning the curse split 8-2, and I think that ends up being pretty decisive. It gives me all the time in the world to get the rest of it set up. Maybe there's a faster way to get the Swamp Shacks and Sack of Loot going, but I think the prioritizing just playing Trickster a bunch early was probably correct.